jane bhakti rasasa. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You say. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It sounds weird over that thing. I think there's feedback. I think there's feedback coming through. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotar Sada Sri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotar Sada Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaja Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopika Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navarid Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami iti namine namaste sarasvate deve gauravani pracharine nirvishesha shunyavadi paschatya deshatarne. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Shrishtam Manumapi Shachiputramatra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Urupurim Maturim Goshtavartim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Ataf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tine Smarane Hoy Bigna Binashan Anayashe Hoy Nijavanchita Puran. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukunda Prabhu this morning, among the various topics he dwelt upon, was the ultimate statement of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna ends his Bhagavad Gita with a call to surrender to him. And Chaitanya Charitamrita at the end gives us an idea of how far that surrender can go. How you don't get anything back. And in Bhagavad Gita, you get freedom from sins, which means freedom from suffering. But at the end of Chaitanya Charitamrita, you're going to get suffering. And Mukunda explained that. Krishna may just want you to suffer. Why? He can do whatever he likes. He can do whatever he likes. He wants you to suffer, he'll make you suffer. And that is the highest bliss. If you become a madman like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you have a nice home, nice family, very popular, and you leave everything to go and rub your face against the wall and blood comes out. Who will understand? Who are we going to explain this to? We don't even understand it ourselves. The answer is in this song that we sang. Gaurangera Duti Pada Jara Dhana Shampada Sejane Bhakati Rasha Shah. That Bhakati Rasha Shah. That the essence of Bhakti Ras comes at the end of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Then when you finish reading it, you get the point right at the end. It's there, but it's succinctly right at the end. And then saying, oh, that's what the book was all about. Okay, I better go back and read it all again. Doesn't really seem to make any sense, any logic. Why would you want to be like that? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is asking everyone to go everywhere and speak this message. But who will take it? Who will take such a message? Where's the logic? There is no logic. It's simply love, and there's no logic. It is because it is, and don't even when you're fully in love, there's nothing to discuss. That we know in the material world, love defies all logic, and you really get yourself in a mess. That's a perverted reflection of the spiritual world where you get yourself in a mess, and you don't even have reincarnation. You can't get out of it. You can't try again some other place, other time. You're stuck. Who will understand this? You see, we joined a cult, and we're all brainwashed. And we don't want to escape. So this Sankirtan festival is for promoting the propagation of everything that is completely sane, because everything in this material world is insane. This morning, Mukunda also asked how many came by reading Prabhupada's books. And many raised their hands. Janardhan didn't raise his hand. He was born into that. But then I suggested to him, probably in a previous life, he got one of Prabhupada's books. There are many now getting born who they may have seen Prabhupada in a previous life or whatever. They had some contact. Now they're getting born again. And for myself, I know many others had this experience that when we read these books, especially for the first time, we have the experience. This is the first sensible thing it's the first sane thing I ever came across. Ever. Everything else is just madness. And in Prabhupada's books is sanity. I've many times repeated, I heard this from Umapati Swami, and he put it in his book also, his memories of Prabhupada, that I'd been studying. He wrote, I'd been studying Buddhism And in Buddhism, whatever branch of Buddhism he was following, they say, you can't say that it is, and you can't say that it isn't. And you can't say that it both is and it isn't, and you can't say that it neither is or it isn't. And then I heard Srila Prabhupada say, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I thought that's the most intelligent thing I ever heard in my life. Cut the knot of Buddhist koans supposed to incite a state of understanding. Yeah, so this festival is to inspire the book distributors to distribute more and more and to remain steady in that service. And for those who are not directly engaged in that service, it's an opportunity also for us to honor those who are engaged in that service. And we are honored to have the honor to honor some devotees who have made that service their life. Now, Krishna life is, devotees are distributing many books. But the real thing is if you can go on doing that throughout your life, or at least remain connected with that. Someone may do many books for a few years, but someone who steadily goes on distributing over many years, they'll do more books by the hare and the tortoise logic. You just keep on going. So it's an opportunity for us to recognize devotees who've been doing it all their life. We're waiting for Adhikata Prabhu to come. He's also been doing it all his life. And of course, Bhrigupati Prabhu is here. He's been doing it all his life. Sometimes we see devotees in their youth, they're very enthusiastic for distributing books, but their enthusiasm dies down. But this enthusiasm which is sustained by yoga practice, we heard in Bhrigupati Prabhu's talk at midday, how he's externally he's engaged in distributing books, and internally in his yoga practice of meditating on the 6 Goswamis and all the previous acharyas, and how they want him to be there, and they're empowering him, and his enthusiasm hasn't died down. Maybe he's more enthusiastic in his old age than he was in his youth, and that's real enthusiasm, because it is, we can see if the real enthusiasm, it's anandam buddhi vardhanam, it's increasing bliss always. So now we know the secret of how he goes out there every day and is so enthusiastic. He goes and meets the 6 Goswamis in Los Angeles. Radha Kunda Tate Kalinda Tanaya. The 6 Goswamis, they're on the bank of Radha Kund and the Yamuna and Govardhan, and they're in Los Angeles with Bhrigupati Prabhu. That's enthusiastic. I can't wait. I've got to get out there. Vijay Prabhu also related that once. I don't think many of you didn't see him or even hear of him. There's a very famous Radhanath, very famous in our movement, Radhanath Swami. There's another disciple of Srila Prabhupada called Radhanath, who was in a wheelchair, at least for many, I don't know if he was like that all his life, but But I first saw him in the 1980s, and he was in a wheelchair, and he passed away maybe, 10, 15 years ago, something like that. So he was living in some remote place in California somewhere, and Vijay wants to see him, went to visit him, but it was Radhanath's time to go out on book distribution. So he didn't wait to see Vijay, he just went, oh, horrible, and just went out on his book distribution. Addicts. This addiction is good. So we should seek the blessings of such devotees. Just like Brigupati Prabhu has found the secret. It's an open secret. Everything works by mercy. Again, in your talk at midday, you started by discussing how Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was writing Chaitanya Charitamrita when physically it was practically impossible for him. He himself said, I don't know how I'm doing it, but then it's by the mercy of the devotees. And he starts off Chaitanya Charitamrita like that, ends every chapter, Rupa Raghunatha Pade. What is that? Hoibe Mara Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahe Krishna Das. He's especially Rupa and Raghunath. These are the two. Rupa Goswami revealed the inner intention of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Raghunath Das Goswami saw that and saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu experiencing that and heard everything from Sarup Damodar and told everything to Krishnadas. So from the beginning, he calls for the mercy of Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan, Tina Smarane Hoy, Bigna Vinasha. There's so many obstacles to writing this book, but by remembering them, all the obstacles will be destroyed. Anaya She Hoy Nijavan Chita Puran. And very easily, one's desire is fulfilled. So he starts off the book, he finishes the book. It's all depending on mercy. So that is the secret. As Srila Prabhupada said, in one lecture, understanding means to stand under. It all comes down. Again, we had a discussion in the morning talk of Anukirtanam, following in the continuously of following in the footsteps of the previous authorities. It's parampara process. Comes down, one to the other, one to the other, one to the other. So we're so many generations from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu now. Those who came just after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there were so many devotees who felt themselves, oh, what happened? What happened? Narottam Das, in several of his songs, I just came too late. Just a little bit too late. Srinivasa Acharya, running here and there. Before that, his father, Chaitanya Das, just missing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then just going to visit an associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Of course, in those days there was no modern technology, so after walking such a long way to meet a devotee, and you find, oh, he just left this world. And it happened again and again and again. But now we don't expect to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the way that Srinivasa Acharya and Narottam Das hoped to. But we're more blessed in one way, that we have so many acharyas great devotees who have shaped the sampradaya, we can better understand the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through the writings and the contributions of the acharyas. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there, his teachings were there. Narottam Das, before that Chaitanya Charitamrita would be the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mangal, various Sanskrit biographies were composed in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Before that, Shatchandabha of Jiva Goswami. So that helps us to understand. Otherwise, who will understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu if you hear there's so many stories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Even in Bhagavatam, how can we understand without commentaries? If you hear the story of Mohini Murthy, how can we understand? Vishnu comes in a female form and Shiva is attracted and spills semen. In the British, they saw this and thought, what is this? Even up to the present day, Indian Hindus at least don't have a problem with this kind of thing. It doesn't bother them. They have a sense that some things are possible which don't fit to a rational or moral sense. This supposed rational moral sense of the Western man has caused so much damage in the understanding of reality, because ultimately we again come to Ashleeshava. Ultimately, reality is not rational or moral according to our understanding. This Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj used to say about Krishna, he's the ultimate autocrat. He can do whatever he likes. You can't question him. You just have to obey. You have no choice but to be subservient to him. And fortunately, he's not a despot. He's not nasty. That's what we say. We say, but then, how the highest ecstasy is the most excruciating pain is the highest ecstasy. It's beyond any rationalism. And it's beyond any rationalism why, coming to the point of this festival, why anyone would want to go out day after day after day and sell books to people who are going to have a very hard time to understand them, actually. But they can understand them. They need association. We need other programs also. First program is to bring them, let them associate with devotees. They associate with devotees. Take prasadam, chant Hare Krishna. They can understand. The whole process is purifying. Srila Prabhupada, he pushed this on. He said, I blindly follow my Guru Maharaj, which is an amazing, about book production, he said, I blindly follow my Guru Maharaj, which is an atypical statement, because he would always say, don't follow blindly. Don't accept a guru blindly. But he said, in this matter, I follow my Guru Maharaj blindly. What is the meaning of that? That if we think rationally, it might not seem the best way to even spread Krishna consciousness, to distribute these books, which people can't understand. Srila Prabhupada insisted that the Devanagari script be there, which almost everyone we distribute the books to outside of India can't understand. To them it just looks like some hieroglyphics or scribble. They can't understand it at all. They can't even begin to understand it. When Srila Prabhupada, again, you were talking about 1966, Srila Prabhupada was chanting the songs in Sanskrit, and Satsvarupa Maharaj noted that in his Lilamrita also, that in 1966, before Srila Prabhupada had any disciples, even when he had his first disciples, they weren't really disciples, what we would call disciples. They wouldn't get initiated today. I think even the most liberal gurus in ISKCON wouldn't initiate at the level Prabhupada initiated them in 1966. And they'd get in trouble if they did. Some smelly hippie with long hair and beard, yeah. They recite four principles. But he was reciting Sanskrit in the lectures. So Srila Prabhupada, he believed this, that we have to distribute these books. This will have the effect. When Srila Prabhupada came to America, Markirne Bhagavad Dharma, how can Krishna consciousness be spread in America? His first sight of America, the grey dockland of Boston Harbor, with big buildings, and without even stepping foot on the shore, Srila Prabhupada can see these people are covered by the lowest modes of nature. How will they understand this? Srimad Bhagavatam. That's right there in Bhagavatam. That by hearing, what is that verse? It begins, Chaita Aitaranavitam Stitam Sadvam Prasidati. By hearing the Bhagavatam, one comes out of the lower modes and is situated in pure goodness by this process of hearing. So Srila Prabhupada said if they regularly hear the message of Bhagavatam, they will be purified. He didn't mention there about chanting. He mentioned about Bhagavatam. But of course the two are completely interlinked, because Hare Nama Nukirtanam is mentioned. We find in the beginning of Bhagavatam, in the end of Bhagavatam, so blindly following means it may not seem like the best way. Maybe we should have some way to bring in people gradually by yoga or personality development courses, and just be nice to people, chit-chat with them, wearing your regular clothing. Don't be too weird. Gradually make friends with them and this and that. Keep it light. Gita and Bhagavatam, whatever adjectives you might choose to describe them, light is not one which fits. This is Guru. This is the message of the Guru. Guru means heavy. It's very, very heavy. Arjuna wanted to be light. Let's all be friends. Krishna was heavy. Right from the very beginning. What worse insult can there be from a Kshatriya than to call him a eunuch? Especially to Arjuna, because he'd had to live as a eunuch for 1 year. For a Kshatriya. Nowadays people, they might like that. We have LBG, what is it? TQ. Why don't I just say A, B, C, D? But no one added the E for eunuch, chop your balls off. That's also one. If you do it when they're young, then you get a big, strong body. That's why they do it with the bulls, and they become very strong. But to be called that for a Kshatriya, that's the biggest insult. And especially to Arjuna, who was, he had to live as a eunuch for 1 year. What could be more of an humiliation? Krishna, really, he was really heavy with him. Arjuna said, let's just all, why can't we all just get along together? Rodney King, was that his name? In Los Angeles? Why can't we just all get along together? And it sounds great, but Krishna he didn't have anything to do with this peace and love sampradaya. Love, yes, but not like that. It's really heavy. And Bhagavatam's message is really heavy. I just, where was that? I came across that. I can't remember, just recently. Maybe some of you came across it also. That someone had asked Srila Prabhupada that why do you have your devotees dressed up like this and going on the streets and chanting? And Srila Prabhupada said, when the condition is serious, then the antidote must be very serious also. I'm paraphrasing. Did anyone, I came across that recently. Maybe that was in Govinda Dasi's book. I read that recently. But yeah, the situation is really serious. The world is in a mess. It's always been in a mess. The very nature of this material world is that it is a terrible place. And actually, if it's peaceful and nice, that's very dangerous. In some ways, Kali Yuga is the best. We were I knew that story, but you told me that was, Mukunda told me that's from Vishnu Purana. When the rishis came to see Vyasadeva, they wanted to ask him, which is the best yuga, which is the best gender, and which is the best varna. So Vyasadeva, when they came to see him, he was bathing in the Alaknanda. So you go down 3 times. So you just bathe. He went down, came up and said, Kali Yuga. He went down again, came up and said, women. Went down again, came up and said, Shudra. It's just the opposite of what everyone might think is the answer. Kali Yuga is the best yuga. Why is that? Kaling sabhajantyarya gunagya sarabhagena yatra sankirtananeva sarva swarto bilabhyate. Kali Yuga is persons who really understand what's going on. They can understand that Kali Yuga it has its special qualities. They worship Kali Yuga as the best because in this age, simply by Krishna kirtan, all one's best interest is served very easily. So Kali Yuga is the best. Then which is the best gender? Which of the 370 and increasing is the best? And again, Vyasadeva comes. Have you seen bathing in the river? I think even the Indians don't know about that. You never saw anyone do that. If you're from a city, yeah, you go down, you cover, and then you go down in the river or the pond or whatever, once, twice, 3 times. That's your bath finished. So the second time he copied, he said women. And then the rishis didn't ask what is a woman. They understood that. The full effects of Kali Yuga were yet to come. So woman is best. Why? Simply by, she doesn't have to go through studying so many things, performing so many austerities. She simply has to serve her husband, that's all. She gets all the effects. And even if the husband is a perfect devotee, that's most conducive. But then, even if not, she gets so much credit. And we have the story which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu alluded to. It's just mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then in the purport it's briefly described from the Aditya Purana, I believe, of the wife of the leprous brahmana who wanted to enjoy a prostitute, and she arranged for that to be possible. So she wasn't serving a very ideal husband, but by serving him, she became glorified. The famous stories, Nala Damayanti, Satyavan, Savitri Satya, the women in these stories, they're more glorified. And their character is more than their husband for their chastity. So simply by that quality of chastity, women can achieve all perfection without having to go through so many difficult things. So it's better to be a woman according to this estimation, and better to be a Shudra for the same reason. If a Shudra, he simply has to faithfully follow his master. And for Shudras also, the sin is not counted to the same extent. If a Brahmana makes a little mistake, he's in a lot of trouble. But for Shudra, there's a lot of leeway. They're not expected to be so well behaved. We see that to some extent. That's rapidly going, but if just like in the streets of Atlanta, if two men are brawling, drunken, it's just a normal thing. But if the two happen to be members of the state senate, that's considered much worse. Or if they're medical doctors, they're expected to be of a better character. It's shameful for them to do so. So we're here to promote the book distribution. It's going on well. That's healthy, generally healthy. Generally we can say it's very healthy. Although I mentioned the other day in a talk here how the attitude can sometimes become somewhat unhealthy also. I mentioned about Manida Prabhu, who's one of the great old-time book distributors. He told me that once in Germany, in the great old days of book distribution, before a marathon was about to begin, book distribution. In those days, marathon meant book distribution marathon. Later there came painting sales marathon and what was that called? Moose? Massage mousse, yeah. You rub it up and down people's back. They had different kinds of marathons. But the devotees were all, the men were all fired up. They were fired up, Prabhu. And so Hotra Swami had to speak to them, and he got on their case. With his analytical style, he could psychologically understand that they're thinking, hey, we're the greatest book distributors in the world. We're going to go out there. We're gonna burn the streets up. We're gonna do huge. We're gonna do it. He recognized that, and he put them back in order and sent them out. That you're not doing anything. You simply have the privilege to go out and serve all the gurus. That was a point I veered off on. I was saying that now we miss Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming in the sense that but we have him. We have the contributions of the 6 Goswamis, and we have the contribution of Krishnadas Kaviraj, Narottam Das, Vishwanath. Actually, the Sampradaya is so much enriched by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And all the acharyas, and we have everything in Prabhupada's books. There used to be, Rameshwar used to send out the BBT newsletter the Sankirtana newsletter used to come every week, and the BBT newsletter used to come every month or every quarter, was it? Every month or every quarter. I can't remember. It wasn't so frequent. But I remember, I've never seen it since, but I remember way back from the 1970s that Srila Prabhupada said that by reading my books, you contact all the previous acharyas. Because Srila Prabhupada, he would consult the works of the previous acharyas when he was writing his commentaries. And he would select what to include, what to write. So Srila Prabhupada, Sarvadeva Maya Guru. Sarvadeva, the Guru is the representative of all the Deva, can mean all the demigods, all the devotees. So he's the representative of all the great acharyas. So we get more. We get Chaitanya Mahaprabhu plus all the great acharyas. In one sense, the further we're separated by time, and the more great acharyas come in the meantime, we have more blessings. And now, you young book distributors, you can take the dust from Bhrigupati Prabhu's lotus feet. And you're not going to be able to do anything without blessings from him. This is the way it works. This is the way Krishna consciousness works. We run on mercy. And it comes down generation after generation. And every book distributor is different. We used to have little skits of how to distribute books. What are the techniques? But who has that said that? The technique is you get up early in the morning, chant your rounds. Yeah. You get up, you chant your rounds. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll repeat that because all of you may not have heard that. That when Tripurari, brahmachari at the time, he said to Srila Prabhupada, here in Atlanta, was it? Yes, here. Yeah, here in Atlanta. Here in Atlanta, said to Srila Prabhupada that in different temples they ask us to speak on book distribution techniques, and then Srila Prabhupada said, well, what do you tell them? And Tripurari replied that Well, first we tell them they have to get up in the morning and chant their rounds very attentively, and Prabhupada, before he could say anything else, Prabhupada said, yes, that is the technique. You have to become a very devout follower of the rules and regulations. Spiritual strength comes from spiritual practice and is daily required. Nityang Bhagavata Sevaya. Daily required. We need to breathe all the time. We need to eat regularly. We need to hear and chant in the association of devotees regularly. And this gives strength. And praying to the six Goswamis, knowing that they are there. Tam sarva bhuta hridayam munimana tosmi. At the beginning of Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami prays to Shukdev Goswami, or offers his obeisances before he attempts to reply to Shonaka and the other rishis. He offers his obeisances to Shukadev, who can enter the hearts of all. It means the six Goswamis, they're there. They can enter our hearts if we call them, if we pray to them. They can guide us, they can help us. By that connection, we can become empowered. Otherwise, we have no power. We can't do anything. So there are different approaches, different techniques. Some are very high energy, pushy in distributing books. I remember I was first distributing books in England and then Ireland in the 1970s. And that most of us were like that. We just more or less harassed people until they gave some money, and it came to India, it didn't work at all. You really have to change gears if you distribute books in India. But I remember once in, I believe it was in Bournemouth. You may have, unlikely heard, it's in yet another insignificant town in England. I was with Prabha Vishnu, who was a brahmachari at the time. And he was in charge of all the temples in England, because there was GBC, but he was not really GBCing much. So he's in charge of all the temples in Britain and Ireland. And he oversaw the temples by the technique of, he would go from temple to temple, but in the meantime, he'd go on traveling Sankirtana in between. That's what he liked to do. So I just saw him. I was astonished. He'd just talk to people in a very quiet and sober way. And they'd give him money and take the book. He didn't, so to speak, lay a trip on them or any such thing. One summer, I was with Adhikata Prabhu. That must have been, when was that? That must have been, was it 76 maybe? Okay. So we spent half the summer on Oxford Street in London, and then the other half in Ireland, mostly Northern Ireland. And he was just like that. He'd walk out to people very calm, just talk to them in a very calm way. And he'd do huge. We were selling big books. There was Bhagavad Gita, the abridged version. At that time, we didn't have the full version. For certain reasons, we were only selling the abridged version. And no one could sell big books in Britain. First of all, I just don't remember his name now. What's his name? Big, tall, early book distributor, begins with B. Buddhimanta came. I heard he came before I came. He couldn't do it. Then Tripurari came with, okay, we're going to show him how to distribute book. And he left, he couldn't do it. And then Adhikata said, okay, said to me, okay, let's see if we can do it. Prove them wrong. So we did. He would always be ahead of me, a few books, most days. He'd do 25, 26, 27, 28, and I would do around 20 every day. And that was big in those days, yeah. Wasn't huge, but it was big. No one else was doing it, but I was impressed how he could do it like that. I remember one incident, he won't remember it, in Northern Ireland. There was just some car stopped, maybe it was at the pedestrian crossing, and the window was open. Adhikata Prabhu put a book in, and it was just about 20 seconds, and just before he went off again, the man gave him some money, and the book went off with him. Like that. Very, very impressive how he's able to. Different people have different techniques, and here at Krishna Life, Mahotsaha Prabhu is rightly famous for his phenomenal book distribution. But others, it's making new frontiers, which could have been crossed long ago if we hadn't stopped emphasizing book distribution. Unfortunately, it's hardly even noticed, and even it's not noticed because it's not published. It's not officially publicized. But this should be, just like Srila Prabhupada wrote after finishing Chaitanya Charitamrita, he wrote in the concluding words, if my Guru Maharaj had been present, it would have been a great cause for celebration that he'd finished the translation. So it should be a great cause for celebration. Srimad Bhagavatam sets are being distributed on the streets of America. This is unheard of, undreamed of. We were doing 20 Bhagavad Gitas each, something like that. And that was the best. You know, we had maybe 50 book distributors in the whole of Britain. And we were the crack team. We were the best. And now this is in a different dimension. It shows the spiritual energy is unlimited. And it's not just that one person can do it. That energy others can pick up. It's not just one person's going to do it. There'll be others also. At the same time, there are always going to be some devotees who don't do so huge and big. We should see and appreciate their endeavor also. Different people have different capacities. And maybe maybe one who is not doing big now, he'll do big later, but again, to remain steady throughout life, that's going to be, in the long run, more important. Someone who stays with the process. Maybe as a book distributor, maybe as a floor cleaner. There are devotees. Our godbrother there in Chicago, Jitendriya. Where will you want to find him? Where is he? He's out the back taking out the garbage, cleaning, mending this and that. He's been doing it all his life. No one's ever going to say Jayam Vishnupad to him, except when he goes to the spiritual world. Was that the Zen of motorcycle maintenance? So you can get full spiritual perfection by cleaning the toilets. You can. So many unseen, unheard of, unheralded, unsung devotees who are working hard, fully dedicated to Krishna, pleasing Krishna by their devotion. In an army, it can't be all generals, after all. So this festival is to encourage everyone. Also from my days in the 1970s in England, for several months I was on a Sankirtan party. Mostly, I said the other day, mostly the Sankirtan parties, they'd all get moved, or all the men would get moved around because no one could get on with anyone else. So they'd always, the traveling Sankirtan parties, they'd always change the membership. But I was on a party for several months. We remained unchanged. That was during one winter. Yeah, it was during one winter. We didn't have any heating. We slept in the cold vans, and the ice would form inside the vans from our breathing and then drip down on us. And it was cold, and it was below zero, and we didn't eat hot food because we didn't want to waste time cooking it. And it was cold. Anyway, I was there with Kalyapani Prabhu, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. Those of you from Alachua know him. And Medhavi. And Kalyapani did huge. I did moderately huge. And Medhavi struggled. Day after day after day, he was doing a low score. But every day he went out. Every day, day after day after day. Every day it was a struggle. And every day he was almost embarrassed to say how many books he distributed. But he kept on going, day after day after day. Later, he went to South Africa. He's still there. And he became one of the most successful painting salesmen for raising funds for the Radha Radhanath temple, that iconic temple. I've never been there, but in Durban. So eventually, by his trying and trying and trying, he didn't give up, he kept on trying. He had that success. But even if he hadn't, his success was that he tried. Again, that was discussed this morning, Jatayu. His success that he was trying. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that in one lecture, that Jatayu, he wasn't successful, but he pleased Bhagavan Ramachandra. His attempt was ridiculous. In his old age, how could he fight with Ravana, who'd defeated everyone in the universe except Shiva? It was a ridiculous proposition, but he fought. He had to do his duty. And he was appreciated by Bhagavan Ramachandra. So let us try to encourage everyone. Again, we have those who do big scores, but there are many who do lesser scores also. And if you take all the lesser scores together, they do more than all the big scorers. It's something like this, that say 20 devotees, they do, say, 40% of all the book distribution. But then there are all the rest who do all the rest, which is a lot. You put it all together, it's a lot. So everyone's contribution is counted. And even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say he would appreciate even if one copy of Nadia Prakash was sold. Selling one book to anyone is a huge thing. After so many lives, they get this little window of opportunity, human life. You're in and you're out. And then again, back in the ocean of birth and death. Now the opportunity. And you get the book, and it's their opportunity. They may not read it. Someone else may read it. The book that I first read of Srila Prabhupada's, the person who bought it had no interest in it, but I read it. And so whoever bought that book, and then they get the sukriti, the piety of buying that book, and the fact that I read the book and then I came to Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet, they also get benefit for that. An atheistic woman puts all the books she gets from her devotee son in the garage. Call it a garage in America? In the garage, out of the way. She doesn't want to throw them away because her son sent them. Little sentiment. Otherwise, she doesn't like them at all. She puts them in the garage. And for years, he keeps on sending her books. And she gets cancer. And she thinks, maybe I should look at those books. She looks at the books. She calls her son, come and tell me all about it. Who is that son? Keshav Bharti also? I was thinking of Indradyumna Swami. There's another case. Huh? That's something that you emphasize a lot, isn't it? Time bombs. The time will come. The time will come, Srila Prabhupada said, the time will come when human society will appreciate how this movement has saved the world in its darkest hour. Now if we look back to the 1970s, now people look back in the 1970s romantically, how nice it was, how much better it was, and it was better. But at the time we didn't think it was good, we thought it was terrible. But it was so much better that we look back and fantasize or romanticize. It was so good. Anand, give me that medicine. It's really so bad. And it's getting worse every day, as prophesied in Srimad Bhagavatam and other Shastras. What's that verse? I quote it so many times. Tataschanu dinam raja satyam shuksham kshamadaya. Nay, I got it wrong. Nay. Tataschanu dinam dharma satyam kshamadaya kalena balena rajan nangshantaya balang smritihi. Rajan, with, O King, with the passing of every single day in Kali Yuga, all good qualities become decreased. Truthfulness, cleanliness, tolerance, mercy, lifespan, memory and intelligence, bodily strength. Srila Prabhupada was completely convinced that the Krishna conscious movement, and we can be completely convinced also, that by reading these books we can be completely convinced that the knowledge Srila Prabhupada has given us is what is needed in human society. All problems spring from ignorance, a misdirected aim of life. All the problems. People need to wake up to this. Sometimes you feel frustrated how this movement should have made such a big impression. Actually, if Srila Prabhupada had stayed some more time, definitely this movement would have made the impression he foresaw, especially in India at that time. The people, the intelligentsia, important people in society, they were just beginning to. Of course, Srila Prabhupada from 1971, late 1970, he went back to India with a group of Western disciples, and he was received very ebulliently in many places. There were critics also, but overall the response was very favorable. But by 1977, and Srila Prabhupada said that. He said that the Americans, they shouldn't just come here and sing and dance, but they should do something solid. And that's why he wanted those temples built. Bombay, Vrindavan, Mayapur, and he pushed so hard, and he took so much money out of the West from book distribution, huge amounts of money to build those temples. And his disciples couldn't understand, and they even fought with him. Why are you building these temples in a fishing village outside Bombay, in a field outside Vrindavan, and in Mayapur a field? There's nothing there, it's just a field. And they couldn't understand. But Prabhupada insisted and forced, and he brought so many of his big men, and they all marched in. Yeah, we're gonna put things in order for you, Prabhupada. And then, in a short time, they'd be on their way out. They couldn't understand. But as these temples came up, and important Indian people were just beginning to, and Prabhupada was preaching also to important people in India. They were just beginning to understand. And if Prabhupada had stayed, the status that ISKCON has achieved now in India, that would have come much quicker in India, and he would have personally guided. Oh, there are so many things. But he left. That Bombay temple opening came just shortly, just 2 months after Srila Prabhupada passed away. And then, because of that, that was reported in Newsweek, major article in a major, it's a very important, I don't know now, but at the time it was a very influential magazine in the West. And that was favorable. Wow, look, the Hare Krishna said, and then the Palace of Gold that had a tremendously positive effect at the beginning. And then in Britain, the Manna campaign really changed the perception of the Hare Krishnas as a bunch of nutcases jumping around to the religious leaders of an important demograph in British society. If Prabhupada had been here, he would have been on top of it all. We say the Hare Krishna movement, but it's just like electrons moving all in different orbits. It's kind of revolving around the same thing, but we're all in different orbits. So it's why Prabhupada left that Krishna knows. But the potential is there, and we should do it. I'm supposed to stop at 6, right? Although it's not that fixed. 6:15. Oh, okay. We have such a powerful message to deliver. It's powerful because it's a fact. I feel very strongly our movement should promote reincarnation as a fact. It's something. Krishna, whether there's a God or not, people can argue. If there is a God, and then who is God? They may argue about Krishna, but the reincarnation, although it's strongly denied by scientific orthodoxy and American Psychological Association strongly denies, they say there's no credible evidence. There's tons of evidence, but they won't look at it. There's so much good anecdotal evidence for it. And approximately 40% of, in their surveys, they say approximately 40% of Americans believe in reincarnation. But that's a huge thing. We should be promoting it. If we don't promote it, someone else is going to come along and promote it. Buddhists or something, they just take people way off in the wrong direction. So we should, because this was what Srila Prabhupada, that was his main thrust of his first preaching in the West. First thing he would preach, you're not the body. You're an eternal spiritual being. That we can establish. We should promote this and then build up on that. This knowledge is in Bhagavad Gita. This is knowledge. Etat jnanam iti proktam. This is what I'm saying, Krishna says. This is knowledge. Raja Vidya, this is knowledge. It's not just some religious belief. We have so much work to do. We have such a powerful message to deliver. I feel some frustration that we're just not getting this message over. We have so many devotees, but why can't we all just get along together and push this message? There's happiness that some people are happy that this Krishna Life Center is coming up with book distribution and devotees happily chanting and now doing almost daily Harinam Sankirtan publicly, but there should be thousands of centers like this and all over the world, and farms. We need farms. We need farms so badly. We need them right now. Restaurants everywhere. Hare Krishna restaurants. We need everything. Everything will come by book distribution. Print as many books in as many languages and the Krishna conscious movement will automatically increase. Srila Prabhupada's famous message. So we should go on distributing the books. But we really want to see something happen. The materialistic people have a very good trick for avoiding the truth of Bhagavad Gita. We find in Chaitanya Charitamrita that there were so many who are expert at avoiding Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the materialists or non-devotees, they avoid the truths of Bhagavad Gita by calling it a religious belief. It's very dangerous to jump into the Hindu box. When you're in a Hindu box, you might get some appreciation, or okay, and people can understand better. If you say you're Hindu, then okay, all right, he's a Hindu. That's a box. We need to put everyone in a box, and we can understand them. So this is a Christian, this is a Muslim, this is an atheist. What are you? We're a Hindu. Oh, okay, you're a Hindu. All right, give them some rights. Be a Hindu, live comfortably, and we don't have to bother about you. And you have your books. This is the book that you believe in. It's your religious belief. But we have to demonstrate that Shastra is reality. What is taught in Shastra is reality. Even our own devotees don't seem to believe it anymore. In this movement, many, they don't seem to believe it. Shastra is the center. How many times did you say that in your talk this morning, Mukunda? 3, 4 times? Shastra is the center. Srila Prabhupada, when he first came to the West, devotees believed in him because he was him. He told them, don't believe in, I'm paraphrasing of course, he told them, don't believe in me because I'm me. Believe in me because I am following the tradition which is rooted in Shastra. So to create that faith that this is real, the whole education has made people have a relativistic outlook. Or if they have an absolutist outlook, then they latch onto the wrong thing. Just like we have this fanatical, what is that called? Evangelical Christianity. Or fanatical Islam, where you can't even discuss. We say this is absolute, but we don't call for blind faith. We should accept Shastra because of this, and this. These are the reasons. It is demonstrable. That faith is required, but not blind faith. Neither should one be a skeptic, nor should one believe blindly. One should try to understand. Arjuna just wanted to avoid fighting, and he told Krishna, okay, tell me what to do then. But Krishna didn't want us to tell him what to do. He wanted him to understand what to do. Otherwise, if Krishna said, look, just shut up, you eunuch, do what I say. And Arjuna, okay. And then next day in the middle of the battle, he'd have another, what's that called? Crisis, breakdown. He had a nervous breakdown. What's the emotional breakdown? Existential crisis. He'd have another existential crisis. So Krishna really wanted to get him sorted out. He wanted Arjuna to understand. He took the time to explain to him. Arjuna didn't ask, it wasn't that Arjuna came samit pani, as he said, you instruct me, but then again he raised so many objections and said, what are you talking about? Vyamashrayane vavakya. Yeah, you're not talking. You said to me, Krishna, that you're talking like a pundit, but you don't know what you're talking about. But I think the same thing about you. Arjuna said to Krishna, it doesn't make any sense what you're saying. Look, Arjuna didn't ask to become a disciple, but Krishna thought, you really need to, look, you got some important work to do. You better understand what you're doing. Similarly, the first disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they didn't have a clue what he came to give them. If at the beginning he had said, then they might not have come. But he gave it to them nevertheless, and he kept on instructing. Because it's so easy to fall away. Maya is there. Maya is always there. ready to grab us. So we need to read the books also. The best inspiration for distributing them comes from reading. Don't you find that if you're reading, saying, you've got to share this with others, got to get it out to others. Others should read this. It might not hit them in the same way as it hits you. It should do. One thing for sure, if they start to read it, even if they can't understand it, they'll know there's something very solid here. That was my impression when I read Krishna Book Volume 2. I couldn't understand hardly anything about it, but I could understand there's something substantial here. I need to find out more about it. So then I went to the temple. And yeah. All right, I'll finish now. Yeah. Many things to say, but I'll finish now. You can have kirtan. No, is it? What does everyone want? Vox populi. So I was saying that even our devotees, they don't seem to have that. Many of them don't seem to have that faith in what Srila Prabhupada has taught. Or they want to pick and choose. That's Hinduism. We like Krishna, but we don't like the rules. Or our own interpretations. That's inevitable. That is inevitable. Hinduism is inevitable. Ved Shastra is given. It's given to materially conditioned people. Everyone in this material world. It starts off given to the great rishis, and then the population is increased. And the rishis teach it to their disciples. But sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. In course of time, it's inevitable. That's the nature of this world. Everything in this world deteriorates. So it's inevitable that what Srila Prabhupada says, what he taught, what he gave will be misused, twisted, misrepresented. So another point of this festival is to affirm that the process that Srila Prabhupada gave works, and it wasn't just something for the hippies in the 1960s and the 1970s. It's an eternal process. We should stick to it. And there's no need to try to invent different ways to bring people to Krishna consciousness. There may be, being very generous here, yoga, personality development, or is that motivational speaking? But the motivation is how to prosper in this material world, all this motivational speaking. I really don't see what it's got to do with Krishna consciousness at all, because Krishna consciousness begins, or Vedanta yoga, all begins with understanding this material world is miserable. But there may be other ways to try to bring people in, which, all right, if it's peripheral. but the center must be always Sankirtan. This is Sankirtan Pravartak Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Sankirtan Jagge Tare Bhaje Shaidhanna. The founder or the inaugurator of the Sankirtan movement is Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And whoever worships him by Sankirtan, Sankirtan Jagge Jai Bhaje. Whoever worships him by Sankirtan is glorious, is fortunate. This is the process. We should stick to it. But I really don't see why you have to have putting so much effort into yoga and personality development when you can sell sets of Bhagavatam in the streets of America. It doesn't make any sense when you... It's like, okay, you have nuclear bombs and you're going to go and fight with sticks? It doesn't make any sense. Something like that happened at the beginning of the First World War. Or was it First World War, yeah. The Germans came into Poland with their tanks, and the Polish came out. Cavalry, in modern military parlance, cavalry means tanks and armored cars, but it used to mean soldiers on horses. So the Polish troops came out with the soldiers on horses to face the tanks. They maybe got a posthumous medal for bravery, but it didn't help. When you have when it's possible to do this, when you've got this tremendous breakthrough. And we're still trying. What is another example? We found out how to. We want to give diamonds. It's like a process of selling diamonds. So you may think, well, better sell glass bangles. We'll get so many customers. But then if you can find a process where you can get so many customers for diamonds, that's what we want to give. And say, no, we still want to give glass bangles. Ahankare mattohaya nitai pada pasharya ashatere shatta karimani. Being overcome by some egoism, we become as if insane, forgetting the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. We take that which is untrue to be true. So another point of this festival is to affirm that Srila Prabhupada's process works. It's Srila Prabhupada's process, it's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's process, it's all the Acharyas' process, it's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's process. You may say, well, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wasn't going out and distributing books. But yes, a large part of Chaitanya Charitamrita is in him instructing Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami specifically so they could write books. And write books means they're supposed to distribute them, distribute that knowledge. And that was the beginning of our sampradaya, writing the books and then bringing them to Bengal, having them copied. And that was the system at the time, just by a few copies would be there, and then the gurus would explain to their disciples. And then gradually the printing press, the influence of the printing press came in India, and so many things, education became more widespread, so many people printing things, so many people writing things, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur took this opportunity to write and print so many books, and print books which had been out of print, well, they weren't ever in print, and then to books from other sampradayas. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati took this very seriously also. And then our own Srila Prabhupada took this to another extent. This is Kirtanam, Bahubhaya Miladva Yad Kirtanam Iti Sankirtanam. When many come together in kirtan to glorify the Lord, that is called Sankirtan. Okay, I'll finish that for now. You want to ask a question? All right, please ask a question. You take a microphone and ask a question.
Guru Maharaj, the truth is, I've never distributed any books in my life. You gave me the name Mahotsaha Das, which means servant of one with great enthusiasm, which means you have the great enthusiasm and it's your potency that's distributing the books. So it's actually you distributing the books, Guru Maharaj.
That's how a disciple should think. Although I doubt if I went on the street, I could do even 1% of what you did.
You're going every day.
I'm quite out of practice.
You're in your best shape right now.
Yeah, it's mercy coming down. The 6 Goswamis are with Brigupati every day because he calls for their mercy. Their mercy comes down through all the acharyas. When we're worshipping Srila Prabhupada, Sarvadeva Mayo Guru, he's a representative of all the previous acharyas. We worship Srila Prabhupada. We all worship Srila Prabhupada daily with this song, which is every line, every word is pulsating with spiritual potency. Spiritual is pulsating with meaning. Sri Guru Charana Padma, Kevala Bhagati Sadna, Bandhamui Shabadana Mate. So maybe in future, well, that's our job. Ebe Josh Gushok Tribhuvan. It's our job that we should have the whole world honor Srila Prabhupada. That should be. The whole world should understand the glories of Srila Prabhupada. We ourselves haven't understood. Who can understand? Who can understand? Being limited, how can we understand the unlimited? But what it means to be that Acharya who was sent by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to bring his gifts to the world, to make real that was written in the Bhagavatam, Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha, Janataga Viplavaha, that even the most, talk about the caste system, these people, Kirata, Hun, Andra, they don't come anywhere near even in the caste system. The most degraded. But Shuddhanti Tasmai Prabhavishnave Namaha. Yenecha Papa. What is that? Yenecha Papa Yadapashrayash. One who is the Prabhavishnu, who is so powerful, his power is seen in that those who take shelter of those who have taken shelter of him, by taking shelter of those who have taken shelter of him, even these most fallen people can be delivered. And Srila Prabhupada did that. Otherwise, there was no incident in history. So we don't know how great is Srila Prabhupada. And his gifts are powerful. It's, I know some of our esteemed guests here are inclined to this Ritvik philosophy, and it is a fact. that after Srila Prabhupada. Compared to Srila Prabhupada, who are all of we? It's when Srila Prabhupada is present, I feel, I don't know if we discussed it, but we all had the feeling, at least that was my understanding, and others who are present then can also say that among ourselves, we looked up very much to the sannyasis and the GBCs, but we thought that they're much bigger than us. But compared to Srila Prabhupada, it's like you have a big mouse and a small mouse and then Mount Everest. It's something like that. Do you think it was like that? That's what I felt. I don't know. It seemed the movement was, we were all in the same kind of consciousness. Devotees, I was in London and devotees would come from America and we just all fit together very easily. So it's like that. So it's ridiculous that a mouse, and I was a very small mouse, or maybe a flea on a mouse. But if by taking, okay, all right, come, be my disciple. I'm Srila Prabhupada's follower. This is the system. If by doing so, I can inspire others to do what Srila Prabhupada wanted us to do, then surely Srila Prabhupada will be pleased. That's how I feel about it. Be a guru not by imitation, but by following and teaching others to follow. And the system works. That the energy comes through. If there's, just like in a copper wire, or a silver wire even more so, there's very little resistance. So if we can be a guru by not putting anything in the way, but just letting it come, let the power come through. What Srila Prabhupada said, transparent via medium. Just say the same thing. Of course, no one's going to be like Prabhupada, and no one is like anyone else. That's our philosophy. Everyone's an individual. But the same principle, if we just try to do and say what Srila Prabhupada said and stick to what he says, then the effect will be there. So, if the books go out and people are joining and they're thinking how we can reach the ceiling when we're jumping in kirtan, it's possible for Matsya downstairs, but up here it's a bit more difficult. But that's the kirtans. The kirtans are, the mercy, the bliss is coming through because we're doing what Srila Prabhupada wanted and Krishna's showering mercy. Yeah, please.
I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank you and all of your disciples for what you've done here over the last few years. I don't know about anybody else. I'll just speaking for myself. It's been a great inspiration for me in my spiritual life because, like yourself, I've been around for a while, and I know what Prabhupada wanted, and I know he'd want this. I know he'd want to see his Bhagavatams going out as sets.
It's amazing.
In big numbers.
Take Bhagavatams on the street.
Yeah.
Meet someone, never heard of Krishna.
Right.
Never heard of Krishna in their life. 5 minutes later, they have a Bhagavatam in their van.
Or 2 or 3 or 4.
And they paid $300 for it. Someone they never met. Selling them something which they never, they don't even know what it is.
Right. Prabhupada would be in total ecstasy. I mean,
that's Prabhupada's potency. That's potency is coming through. It's only possible by spiritual potency.
Right. you're not familiar with the past, Tamal Krishna Raj tells that when Prabhupada was there in Vrindavan, right at the end, nothing could enthuse him. You know, he was on the bed, he was just kind of very inactive. But then when Tamal Krishna Raj would read the report to him about book distribution,
like to hear. Yeah.
he sat up. He had no energy for anything else, but when they would read about the book distribution, especially about Ganesham, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj at that time, Ganesham, and he would, read him what he was doing.
He loved to hear the preaching.
Getting the standing orders. Prabhupada sat up. Prabhupada had energy, and
they had to sit him up, but at least he could sit up. Yeah,
at least he got up.
He had no desire for anything.
As I said, I'm gradually becoming brain dead, but I'm not enough brain dead yet to understand that what's going on here is definitely something that Prabhupada would be super happy with. And I know it's not happening by accident. You've done a lot of hard work.
I just talk. I don't do hard work. I just talk.
You talk? Okay, but he gives you the credit. He's giving you the credit. He says you're his inspiration, so I take him at his word. So anyway, I just like to thank all of you, yourself particularly, and those of you.
So I joined this movement, and like most, or I was allowed to join. And like so many who joined at that time, I was completely confused, frustrated, and that this is it. This is the truth. This is it. This works. And I was convinced when I joined, and I never found anything to unconvince me in the meantime. So I just keep on saying the same thing. That's all.
Well, it's working.
Yeah.
It says you judge a process by the results, so.
They call it a dinosaur. We used to get called dinosaurs. Dinosaur means that myself and a few others used to get called dinosaurs because we kept on saying the same thing and advocating the same things that we did in the 1970s. But just keep on saying the same thing and doing the same thing. And it's selfish on my part, actually, because I really don't want to be with people who are just messing it all up and making all different things. I just like to be with devotees who get up in the morning, go to Mangaladi, chant their rounds, and just speak and do the same thing. So,
well, anyway, thank you very much. I hope you could all keep doing exactly what you're doing for many years to come.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you. I'm honored.
Atlanta is a very important city. That's where Srila Prabhupada, in ecstasy, Gaunitai, chanted their song about the mercy. Shall we sing that and finish this session?
Sure. Yeah.
So, Parama Karuna, Pahundu Ijana. Prabhupada sang this song. No one knew it at the time. And still not many devotees know it. One nice thing about preaching in Bengal is you can go among our devotees, and there are many, many devotees, and you just start singing the songs of the Vaishnavas, many songs which even most of our devotees don't know, and they just know it. They sing it. They know it. It's easy to learn if you know Bengali. Is it up there? Para go down a bit. Parama Karuna Pahundu Ijana Nitai Gora Chandra Parama Karuna Pahundu Ijana Nitai Gora Chandra Shaba Avatar Shara Shiromani Kebala Ananda Kanda Shabi Avatar Sara Shiromani Kevala Ananda Kanda Bhaja Bhaja Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sudhira Vishasa Kari Bhaja Bhaja Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sudhira Vishasa Kari Vishaya Charya Shairashe Mojiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Vishaya Charya Shairashe Mojiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Dekho re bhai Tribhuvane nai Emana doyala data Dekho re bhai Tribhuvane nai Emana doyala data Poshu Pakhi Jhure Pashana Bidare Shunijara Gunagata Poshu Pakhi Jhure Pashana Bidare Shunijara Gunagata Sangsare Mojiya Rohili Pardiya Shepade Nahilo Ash Sangsare Mojiya Rohili Pardiya Shepade Nahilo Ash Apana Karama Munjaye Shamana Kahaye Lochana Das Apana Karama Munjaye Shamana Kahaye Lochana Das Jodi Gorna Hoito Parama Karuna Pahundu Ijana Nitai Gora Chandra Get up. Parama Karuna Pahundu Ijana Nitai Gora Chandra Nitai Gaura Chandra Nitai Gaura Chandra Jodi Gaur na hoito Tobe ki hoito Kemone dharitam de This is a Jodi Gorna hoito Tobe ki hoito Kemone dharitam de Radhar Mahima Premarasha Shima Keman Jagate Janatoke Radhar Mahima Premarasha Shima Jagate Janatoke Madhura Brinda Vipina Madhuri Prabesha Chaturisha Madhura Brinda Vipina Madhuri Prabesha Chaturisha Baraja Jubatir Bhavera Bhakati Shakati Hoita Ka Baraja Jubatir Bhavera Bhakati Shakati Hoita Ka Gau Gau Puna Gorangera Guna Sharalakari Aman Gau Gau Punar Gorangera Guna Sharalakari Aman E bhava sagare e mana dayal na dekhiye ek jan E bhava sagare e mana dayal na dekhiye ek jan Ami Gauranga Balia Nagenu Galia Kemane Dhari Mude Ami Gauranga Balia Nagenu Galia Kemane Dhari Mude Pashur hiya Pashana dia vidhi Kemane gadiache Pashura hiya Pashana dia vidhi Kemane gadiache Parama Karuna Pahandu Jana Nitai Gaurachandra. Parama Karuna Pahandu Jana Nitai Gaurachandra. I don't want to blow the Rachandra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त
Swami Shri Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Krishna Guru Brahmacharya Shri Prabhupada ki
Jai.